Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, October 5th.
That went unusually
We are
well.
at the Auburn Housing Authority meeting. It's being recorded by Auburn Community Television. Is anybody else recording today? No. And we can start the meeting, I guess, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sure.
Doesn't have to be by
Well, I guess the first thing is, because we have a member of the public, do we have any public comments here?
Okay, we'll just look in the
I
eye.
don't.
Oops.
Well, he is next, no? The
No.
plan?
No, he's the budget revision.
Forgot to turn the mics on.
Yeah, he's number 6.
Okay. Well, any objection to changing number 6 to number 3? Let's go ahead.
Thank you. Again, hello everyone. I usually come to the meetings when it comes to budgets or anything to do with financial statements. We currently have a budget revision, changing the budget from the original. Mainly the changes, if you follow through, if you have page 1 of the budget in front of you, if you look at the current year approved PUM, that's the PUM stands for per unit month, and then the current request. If there's a change from the left column, or the first column to the second column, you'll know that we're making a change on the revision. The first one is shelter rent, and that actually increased, and that's because our actual rental income has gone up from when we originally expected it. Same with interest. Our interest, we were at 95 cents going to 232. Again, if anyone knows banking, you notice that we started receiving more interest on our funds than we had in the past. Other operating revenue went up a little. And consequently, when the revenues go up, so does our subsidy go down. So the actual request for subsidy went down from $18 to $14. And that's all based upon formula. Again, for the new members that are on board, when it comes to the state program, the way the subsidy works is we have a budgeted subsidy, which takes into consideration a formula of estimated revenue and estimated utility costs. But when we actually close the books, then the 3 factors, the annual non-utility expense level, then we take actual revenue and actual utilities to come up with the actual subsidy earned, which could differ. It could go up, it could go down. But that's the way the formula works. So anyways, as you come down, you'll see there's no changes in administrative salaries. The primary changes that were done in this is in maintenance salaries and maintenance expenses. And that's because, which you've probably been aware of, we had part-time maintenance men who left, resigned. Lori was going to hire somebody new, it really didn't work out. So we're currently staying with just the 2 maintenance men, and we're contracting out more services.
3.
3, I'm sorry,
3 full-time.
3 full-time. You're right. But the 3 part-timers that we had,
Yeah.
all that. So what happens is, you'll see that's where we basically have changed. We decreased the maintenance salary line item, which is 4410. We've increased the 4430 account, which is contract costs. And that's basically just reallocating the current same figures that we had in the past. And as I pointed out to Lori, we did have some in the current budget for equipment replacement, which hadn't been done yet, but I think Lori's still planning to do that. I did not take that out, and that's replacing of the 2007 truck. That's basically the revision on the state side. The revision on the federal side, which also ties in with the same categories that we had, but also adds the revenue from the capital fund. The way the capital fund works for smaller agencies is Lori is able to draw down for smaller projects, but it flows through the operating budget through revenue and expense. So obviously, if the expenses go up, we're drawing from the capital fund, so does the revenue go up. And that's reflected in the federal budget revision, which basically goes back into the back pages of it, page 13, 14, and 15. But the same thing, those are basically the changes that taking place as we do it. Now, operating reserve-wise, for the 400 program, that, I know I always talk about operating reserves. Page 7 of 15 is our operating reserve analysis that we're estimating our reserves to be. I'll wait till everybody gets to it. It's page 7 of 15. They're numbered on the very top.
Yeah, you're on the top.
He's getting there. One more. Yep. There you go. Okay, so operating reserve balance at the end of the current year, right in the middle at 137,368. That was our reserves at the beginning of this year, January 1st of 2023. This budget estimates that we're going to be taking 37,331 out of reserves. And the primary part of that, obviously that comes from page 1, but that reflects 35,000 of the truck, which is 1/2 of the truck expense, which we really haven't incurred yet, but hopefully we will by the end of the year. So if that comes through, our reserves at the end of this year will be at $100,037, or at 35%. 35% is kind of the minimum of what DHCD wants. Anything below that, we have to really be careful on and get DHCD approval on. What I'm seeing in next year's budget, though, and this is one of the things that I'm working on with Lori, for next year, we are getting substantial increases in our ANUEL, the annual non-utility expense level, from the state. They've redone the formula. It's at least a 7% increase, but it's also an increase per unit of the number of 667 units we have and 705. It probably comes out to about a 13% increase. Now that frees us up to be able to put those expenses in those specific, any line items within our budget. So we'll be working on that, and that'll be the next item after that. This is just a revision. Our 689 program, which is part of the revision, a very small portion of our portfolio, the calculation of that reserve is on page 11 of 15. That one is a tight program. Again, we don't receive a subsidy from that. We only collect, we can allocate our expenses based upon the revenue we create on that. We kind of have a lease that we have with them, and it goes back and forth. Lori has to be careful when she's negotiating the rental income side of it with them, because if we go too high, they'll just move out. And then we're going to have a vacant building with no rent. So, yeah.
The 689 is our congregate housing. It's through the Department of Mental Health. So it's a building that we own, that we rent to Open Sky. So the rent, we have to be very careful, because if we charge them too much rent, then we're going to end up with a building vacant, which we don't want. But we've also got to be aware of what we're spending over there, because the budget is so tight.
Right. And we are, and we do have there's a certain standard that DHCD allows for what they call the per unit month rental income. We fall within the category of what they want, but on the low end. But again, we have to be careful because you try to negotiate too much of a rent increase from them, might be a lot of other agencies where they have the rent place to go. So,
The agency is a independent, or is it part of the government as well?
I think they get part of their funding
Yeah,
through
through the
DMH.
Department of Mental Health.
Okay, so we're actually negotiating with the government to how to spend the government's
Right.
money. But you would think this could get. This is a bigger issue than what we can handle.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you would think that there would, somebody would look at this and say,
They need to increase.
You would think that.
Yeah, that's right.
but I just want to make sure I understand.
Yep,
So anyways, if you see there, our reserves are estimated to be at roughly 3,049. I did try to do some reallocation of costs to try to get us into a surplus, at least to build it, because if you look at the year before, we went from 3,300 down to 1,800. And the current budget that I'm proposing would hopefully get us out of the hole a little bit more there to bring us to 3,000. So that's our 689 operating reserve. Our federal reserves, we look very good. I mean, if you look, it would be the very last page of the package I gave you. And you'll see from the top where it shows account line 740, that would be our maximum reserve level is 439,418. We actually are looking at our reserve level at being about 468,102, which means we're over our maximum reserve. Now, in knowing that, and just from what I'm hearing from something that came out of FATA just a week and a half ago, is that Congress is looking at potentially trying to say, for housing authorities that are over maximum, to recapture some of those reserves. That was tried probably 13 or 14 years ago, right? And they lost. I mean, but you never know with Congress. So what I'm recommending to you as a board, that for next year, we budget make sure we budget items that will keep that reserve below that threshold. Even if we don't do some of it, but we may want to. I mean, we've been very fortunate with our capital reserve to keep the projects up and going, but that's just something to think about. That's why Lori's looking at the capital needs for our equipment coming up for next year's
so
budget.
the sites that he's talking about is here, Stoneville, the back of Packagug, the 31 units in the back of Federal, and then Pembroke Court, we have 12 units of family housing. So these are the three developments we're going to be focused on, trying to make capital improvements to bring the dollar amount down,
Right. Or to keep it below.
or keep it below.
So since it's a capital project, most of those will get overseen by the state.
No, has nothing to do
No,
with the
I'm
state.
sorry.
This is
Oh, because this is all fed.
This is
Has
the
nothing to do with the state.
Okay. So it's relatively
Yeah, it's large,
easier
yeah.
process to do the improvement.
That's right, it's large, it's large,
Yeah, okay.
which is good.
So that's the revision and the changes that we've made from the original budget, which aren't that much, but it's needed just to kind of balance out our fiscal year, which ends in 3 months. Any specific questions?
I just, if you don't mind, I'm just trying to understand how the process works.
Okay.
Because you created a budget, and a budget obviously is like the weather report. It's usually not worth a whole lot, because
Well, it's a
the
plan.
weather does what
It
it
was
wants
a
to
plan at
do.
the time.
It's a
Yeah.
plan. That's what you expect, but
Yeah.
it's not really set in stone. I mean,
Right.
You know that as a budget. That's kind of what the word budget means.
Yeah.
It's like a guesstimate. So now we're revising the guesstimate.
Yep,
But at some point, you get to the end of the year, you have hard numbers,
right,
which now becomes actual history.
Right.
What the weather was today.
Right. Which that will
Where do
occur
we-
before, that usually we have 60 days after the end of the fiscal year to get in our financial reports, which I normally will get done mid-February, or somewhere in the February meeting, because usually, January comes, you can't just do it right away. You know, things occur for people, you have bills to accrue. So that's why they give us 60 days. And usually I'm finishing up beginning of February of the financials. Those would be the financial reports that are actuals.
So, and then when you do when you get to the final report, everything sort of falls into the cash reserves. Whether they
Exactly.
go up or go down.
Exactly.
It makes no, like, because it is what it is. It's how
Yes.
much money you're gonna
Yes.
make. So my question is why do we have to do a revision when we know in 2 months or 3 months,
I'll tell
we're
you-
simply gonna change that
And
one line
again, from
to
the state
balance the
side, the
accounts?
reason we are is because the state does a performance management review called a PMR. Okay, part of the PMR, they look at the final numbers that are done, compare it to the budget. And if it's greater than certain percentages, you get dinged.
And we don't
Okay.
seem to get dinged.
And what I mean by ding is they're gonna, it would tell you,
Right.
oh, you should have done a budget revision.
So that's why we do
That's
it.
why we're doing a budget.
So what is, so this is sort of gets
Yep.
to the nut of the problem. What constitutes the ding? Is it 10%, 12%,
It's
50%?
It's 10% within a category, and our category of 4410 and the 4430, which is the maintenance contract cost and maintenance labor, would be affected. That's why this revision is going in, because I'm moving money out of the 4410 into the 4430 to get those
To keep
in.
within the
So
10%.
we look better.
That's primarily, I mean, I'd love to be able to say, oh, we came in and there was no reason to do a budget revision, which there wasn't last year. I don't think we had to do a revision last
No,
year.
we didn't.
But that's primarily the reason.
And with each report, I always keep a close eye on what our reserves are.
Exactly, and we actually have that right on our monthly report.
Yes.
So that at any time you look, it'll say, oh, here's what our reserves are, and here's what it would be if I close the books on that day.
Yeah.
But obviously, that just gives you an idea, so that you know it's trending up, it's trending down, it's zero, or whatever. And then when you look at the categories of 4410 and 4430 to it, you'll see there's a negative and positive. That kind of tells us
Right.
need to do a revision. So that's the reason we're voting on that today. It doesn't change anything, but very good points.
Right. So my next question
Yep,
is simply, because of the logistics of wearing 12 hats, you know, how much of your time is spent administering the budget separate from all of the other things that you administer? Like, is there
Well, I get a report from Gary
right,
every month, and I
You
can
get it.
see, and you get it, you could also get it. But I can look at that and see where
right.
we are. As far as like the spending goes, I'm the one that pays the bills. So I'm seeing the money going here, there for like screwy things like the wipes and the pipes and
Mhm.
the AC unit problems. And I know that that wasn't
It's gonna
money
hit
that we
the
were
budget.
planned on.
right.
I was planning on having a staff of 6 maintenance, I have a staff of 3. So I know I'm saving $1,000 a month just by not having the part-timers here. But I'm also spending it on the contract side by hiring licensed plumbers, licensed electricians. So I know pretty much based upon the bills, and then I get his report,
Lori and I will talk, and I'll say,
and he'll say,
but it makes sense. I mean, that's usually what happens. and-
Right.
yeah,
And that's the reason we're at this situation.
So I guess, so maybe the question is more than, because you're sort of the keeper of the numbers, right? You're really just doing whatever needs to be done. And so the question, I guess, maybe is how much, I guess it's not gonna really matter what the answer is, but how much time does it take you to do this? Because it's actually not taking her that much time. She's just dealing with
Well,
reality.
she's dealing with, that's
She's-
her job. That's,
Yeah.
believe me.
wait.
That's the
Let's
primary
let's
part.
clear this up. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know you have to have meetings to do both.
Yes.
Right, I mean, obviously, there's 2 people in the meeting, but I'm just trying to understand you're taking it the wrong way.
No, I kind of took it the way everybody else took it.
Yeah, but that's not the way, because my wife would tell me, you don't say what you mean. But what I'm trying to understand, because I'm trying to understand the whole system, right?
Yeah.
And there's like 12 parts to that job. Right? You wear 12 different hats.
There's,
right?
I
And-
think there's
and
more
this-
than that.
I think, yeah,
Right,
and it's
on
not
the
just
low
me, it's
end,
all of them.
on the low end. But the revision, of course, is coming from the state to revise guesstimates to a better guesstimate.
Right.
And so my question is just one, because I'm really trying to evaluate the state system of asking you to revise a guess and how much time, if they didn't have you do that and you went straight to the end of the year, would it even make a difference?
On the PMR.
Well,
On the PMR, that's also another state.
They're only going by their guidelines.
Right, I understand you are.
They're micromanagement.
Right.
Micromanagement.
Right. I understand that. So I'm just trying to, so like, do we do this, so you're tracking it every month
He
anyway?
tracks it
Track
up.
it.
And so as soon as it goes, one goes out of, one hits 10%, we immediately do a
Well,
revision.
we want to know why.
And that's why
when
we
talk-
pay him
and
every
that's-
month.
but
He's,
that's
Right,
why-
no, I
but that's
understand.
why we talk to each other and we
Yep.
say,
Right.
you know, what happened? I mean, obviously, if something happened and there was an emergency, we look to see, first of all, if there's other funding for that particular, let's say it's, this, I don't know, we had a fire or something, I don't know. A water damage, we had a lot of that last winter in a lot of my housing authorities, with water damage where those pipes froze, we had that one cold spell. You know, one of the offices in South Hadley, they're just reopening now because their whole office flooded because they had pipes all from the ceiling of the community room that all froze. And that was only because they came in and they re-insulated. Well, they re-insulated to keep heat in the building, but it stopped into the attic where a lot of the pipes were. Never thought of that. Someone didn't, but, so those things happen. So what happens when that happens is you look to say, well, what sources of income or what sources of revenue do we have to take care of that? Sometimes it might be emergency funding, it might be our operating reserves. That's what happens on an ongoing basis.
and I think a lot of it is, they want to know that our agency is actually looking at our budget and not just depending on the fee accountant.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? I gotta be able to show that, yes, he makes these recommendations to me, and I'm listening to him. That, you know, we are working together to keep the housing authority afloat.
Right. And in
Right.
general, I mean, based on this and what you said in other years, you haven't actually had to revise. So
We
obviously.
have in the past.
We
Yeah,
we didn't last year, though.
Not last year.
Last year.
No,
But
the year
before
before.
we did.
So it's, you know, obviously you've got enough history and experience
Yes.
to make your budget pretty accurate.
Right, right.
You know.
We do, and I think we've been pretty close on that. And I guess that would be the next thing to look at, is when we get to the end of the year and do our year-end financials. And if you've been on the board a while, you know,
Yeah.
operating reserve is where I look. This is what we estimated our reserve to be, here's what it is. And hopefully, from a budget standpoint, we're not below that level. That might be the lowest level we would be at. Hopefully, it's a little bit higher, which, again, rolls forward to the year after.
And there's
That's
a lot
why
of
I
things
watch
that,
the reserve.
right, and there's a lot of things that we can't plan on, like we weren't planning on the AC units failing to
Right.
the extent that they had. And that the toilet
Oh, yeah.
wipe situation is,
That's a lot of money.
cost a lot of money. So we weren't planning on that, and
Right. I mean, we have in our budget estimate of miscellaneous contract costs, you know, which come up.
Right,
I
those
mean,
things are gonna happen.
but, you know, if you budget 10,000, but you end up spending 15, that's the type of thing we watch. If that's keeping us from, you know, somewhere else, we're better off, but.
So what happens to these numbers when you have a lot of rents that are in arrears? Like, how does that affect?
That affects us with the bad, that affects what we call the bad debt. And you'll see, we have a collection loss, which we've been fortunate in the past. It's been minimal, but it may be higher. I mean, that line item, I budget $2,500 a year, but we also have an allowance for doubtful accounts, which I do at the year end. You obviously go in, you might say, and again, we have an aging process. So we say that if rents if we have vacated tenants that owe us money, we gotta write off 100% of that.
Yeah.
If we age the receivables down, anyone over 90 days, I estimate 30% is going to have to be written off, and we do an allowance for doubtful accounts. So when we do our year-end financials, that's the line item to look at. So yes, it affects our reserves if we have bad debt.
But it actually doesn't affect any of the operations, because those are still within it. You're still trying to get those in, because that's money outgoing, so that's what
Right.
you're trying to do.
But it does affect our operating
It does.
reserves.
Yeah, right, because you don't have the cash.
And then the thing is too, it gets prolonged
Yes.
because it's easier to get an eviction for rent owed, but we have other issues along with not just the rent behavior, what violation of the lease, there's all kinds of other things. We've got a couple right now that are at zero rent. They either quit their job or lost their job. So right now, we're not getting $5, we're getting $5 from them. So they have to fill out a notarized sheet saying how they're paying the bills, and we have to track that. It's like a lot of work. And then you have to use the attorney to go forward, and they want to make sure they're in arrears for like a good 6 months before they'll even take it to court. But in the meantime, it's building. And especially with people that are working and just not paying us.
That's right.
And we have some of that.
It's the one where a rent calculation is calculated, they sign a contract and they don't pay that. That affects us. If you do a calculation of a rent and it's $5 a month, we're being subsidized for that because we're not charging them, we're only charging them that amount. And the formula works is actual revenue. That's this revenue side that I mentioned.
So the state will adjust the
The subsidy,
based on
Based upon these,
right.
the mix of.
But they will not
tenants.
give us subsidy for arrearages, what we call bad debt. And that is people just not paying their contractual obligation.
a lot of times if someone passes away and they owe us money, we have no recourse to go. Right now, I know of 2 elderly that we have that we're gonna end up having to write off the debt. It's not huge money, but it's still money.
Yep.
So that'll be another vote.
Right. Which we normally would probably try to do in December,
Yep.
the last month of our fiscal year, to look at our books and look at any vacated tenants that are gone, either deceased, and we ask to write those off, and then we write them off.
Okay. One more question. So, I don't know if you watched the state's presentation last week about
I
the,
don't watch any, no.
so because of all of the vacancies that shouldn't exist but do exist. And it was pretty interesting because they were pretty much giving everybody carte blanche in terms of writing checks to fix the problem.
Yeah, did you know, I did see that, 'cause I
I was like, wow, this is like really interesting, like,
I will tell you what it is across the Commonwealth.
it's like 2,400 units.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with CHAMP, of getting that through that. I will tell you when it comes to Auburn housing, Lori does a fabulous job in getting the units filled. And on your treasurer's report, you get every month, if we have vacancies, and even for the one right here, the end of August, which is the last report I've done, we had one elderly vacancy, that's it.
right.
I think that's important.
Yes. Right now, we have 2, and we already identified who's going in. We have some transfers going on. Handicap unit, we have a handicapped resident that needs that unit, so it's gonna be like kind of musical units for a little bit. But we're gonna accommodate our current residents that can't do a second floor, needs to be on a first floor. So, and then the other thing we have to watch is the non-elderly, because we just reached our goal of 8 units, and one of those residents moved to federal on a transfer, not a transfer, she actually applied to be in federal housing. So now our next apartment is gonna go to a non-elderly to keep that number up. Then they're looking at the minorities, so we're low on minorities. So now we just pulled the champ list for the minorities. And now, pulling these lists is not cheap because it's $1.14 for everyone that gets sent out. Now you can't pull a list for less than 50. So it's the expense of the paper, it's the expense of Albany's time, and then you get the postage on top of it, and then you might get maybe 4, if you're lucky, and then 2 don't pass the query, so now you're down to 2 out of 50. And if that person doesn't take it, then you gotta pull another list. So it's
And that
a,
whole process takes a long time.
Right.
And that's, you
And a
know,
lot of work.
that's the reason for a lot of these vacancies that exist. It's, you know, I don't want to say anything, but it's not been,
There
easy.
seems to be a lot of complaints from the viewers about the cheap list, which is generic, like. you
And
gotta
what,
fix
it's
this.
just, it's not gonna get any better. It's not gonna get any better because the homeless is the priority, and we have a lot of homeless. So they're gonna go to the top of the list, and they're gonna make it very difficult for anybody else to get housed. Just-
anyways, so
Okay.
is that
Yes,
hopefully?
that's good.
that
Thank
helped?
you.
I'm
Talking
not
a lot.
on that.
So I think on that note, if the revision just needs a vote,
Yeah.
Okay. So I need a motion, right, to accept the revisions?
Motion to accept the revision.
Is there a second?
I second.
Vote all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous.
so we're all set.
Yep,
Um,
there's
There's
papers.
signature pages that I'm sure you have. I think there's just 2 signature pages that have to get signed by everyone. And we'll get these submitted by the end of the month.
Right.
Okay.
I have these right here, so. You
Thank
just have
you.
to read and sign in the right places.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
Mary.
Yep,
Thanks,
Yep.
Karen.
bye-bye.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you
Yep.
again.
Yep, good seeing you.
Good job.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Do we want to sign these now or at the end, sign everything at once? Let's see.
I gotta get my glasses.
So, yeah.
So you can,
Your names are on there,
Yeah.
written on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. It's good, it's fine. I'll learn this. Sign your name and date.
Just about, just to throw a few more things and, use it and go in.
That was very helpful.
Thank you.
How that works.
This goes stays with us. Oh, good. Yeah, I need a black pen. Can I just borrow yours?
I think that's fine.
I've got one, but I don't want to hold this up, so.
is pretty much to cover us so that the state knows that when they're looking, that we are looking. You know, that we are aware of where we're at. And the board gets the statements every month, and that's what they want too. You know, that the board is aware.
It's important that we go over those projects every month when we're there. That's a big project.
Or
I'm on the finance board too, so I'm saying,
it's all right to ask a question?
Sure.
All right, the man that just left, that's Steve?
That's Gary.
Oh, that's,
He's our
He's
accountant.
our accountant.
oh, okay. Who is Steve?
I'm Steve.
Oh, okay. Committee chair, all right,
That's Frank.
yes. But yeah, I only know half the people. I know you, Rose, Betty, yeah.
Wow, actually. Said you had to see him.
Yeah. I think the cloud is all right, but it may have been included in that.
I don't think 7,000 is going to buy you a truck anymore.
It's gonna be a cheap truck.
Especially with the
I'll just take more from the federal program.
What have they proposed annual? Oh, is this it? The annual plan, the proposed annual plan.
Yeah, we received, that's for the hearings, right?
Yeah.
You know, we better go on that.
We
That was the big
already
chunk.
went through that. We just have to vote on it.
Yes, this big. Yeah, I've moved to that page, but. That was just,
Yes.
I moved to the money piece.
We reviewed that, and remember we had, we reviewed it at one of our meetings, and we discussed those. If it changed to vote on it, because they have to do it to the public for a month.
Okay. Thank you, that's okay. So we're all signed, we can go to the next thing?
Yep,
Okay. So the hearing to review the Auburn Housing Authority proposed annual plan fiscal year 2024 is now open. Is there any discussion?
I make a motion to approve. A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is the vote?
The hearing's closed.
The hearing is closed. Thank you. Right, so that was number 4.
and actually 5, no, 4, 3 and 4.
3. Okay, so number 5 is discussion to vote and approve the federal 5-year plan.
And this was actually a revision. They had voted on it early in the year, but I changed the numbers around.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yep. So the dollar amount stays the same. It's just there's more money in operations for 23 and 24. Now, every year, this is what the current amount of our allotment is. But every year it changes, but you still have to use the same amount going all the way across. This is going to take us through 27. So it could go up, it's always gone up, it's never gone down. But that's what you have to start with, was 23, okay? So we're gonna put specific money in plumbing, specific money in electrical for this year, and that'll give us, like going forward, we really have to start spending money. So that's pack shop in the back, that's stone building here, that's Pembroke Court. Well, This development was built in '85, and the other two developments were built in '95. So we're dealing with older systems, but now we know we have the money to make some significant improvements. We just have to be smart about what we change, because sometimes you change one thing and it's old building. Like, the windows have all been done in the 3 places. The roofs have all been done in the 3 places. So we can look at flooring. We can look at bathrooms, redoing, maybe getting the tubs, the shower tubs replaced so that they're, there's specific things that we can do. Like we did the vanities out here, we did the vanities in the back of PV, the vanities at Pinebrook Court could be replaced. So there are specific things that we can target to spend this money down. And it's gonna cost us, because we're gonna need licensed plumbers to do the work, anything plumbing related, and licensed electricians to do the work. Like, we focused on a lot of the safety, like smoke detectors, this, that, and the safety issues, emergency lighting. Tried to update all that kind of thing first. And then now we can go forward and do something else. But now we know we have the money, and it's gonna be, spend it smart, so that we're not gonna be targeted to be giving money back. I mean, we shouldn't be giving any money back. That's the reality, okay? So that's why I changed this plan, and we just have to, well, that's what I did. And with operations, we can pay, because we scored so high on the federal program, 98 out of 100.
Can't get any better than that.
Well, that gives us a lot of leverage, because I can use operation money to pay crazy bills that, like, are a lot of money, like insurance.
Yeah.
You know, that's, shouldn't come out of our regular operating budget, it can come out of our capital operation budget. Anything that's big, insurance. The, sometimes, not so much the lights, but water bills, we're getting significant charges, like different charges for water bills now, but they run into, anything that's good size, I can deduct it from the operations. And that what makes our bottom line look even better too.
What do you think the operations is a natural thing?
Well, we have money in our regular operating budget. Remember he said there's additional money that gets put into our operations that I can use to cover some of our expenses? So it helps our regular operating budget by using this money, because we've scored so high on our physical property that I can offset the regular operating budget with this money. And then I can use the regular operating budget to buy like cards. For the resident, for the, you know what I mean?
Right.
To become,
It's all for the residents.
well, to kind of, I think it's great. Bring their spirits up. I mean, if you're sending somebody a birthday card or a card for Thanksgiving or whatever, and they don't, and it's a big thing. But the more money we have in our regular operating budget, the better off we have, because then we have money to spend on the tenants. Like if somebody's, we know they're not doing well, we tend to send flowers. We keep it under the $50 limit, but when you're sitting in a hospital, if that, we've had residents tell us that that's the last thing, families has told us that that's the last thing they saw were flowers from the housing authority before they passed. To me, that's a win.
Absolutely.
And it's small money to bring somebody a minute of happiness and let them know that we were thinking of them before they're sick. It's like, who knows if they're coming back? You know? But it's small money in the long run. That's my piece. And I think it just makes us look better as an agency.
Absolutely.
one of the things, you were talking about, doing plumbing and the asphalt and on the other side. On that video call that the state did the other day, one of the housing authorities mentioned that they have, I forget the terminology used, about having certified vendors so that they could just,
Now, you're confusing one thing with the other. That's the state, this
this
is
is federal.
the federal. That state has nothing to do with, this is strictly.
This is a separate.
HUD.
Okay, and this is, so this, and this is,
That's state.
this is state. Okay,
The state has hired these house doctors, whatever, these specialist architects that they tend to use over and over again, and so that they don't have to go for bid. They still have to bid the project, but they tend to be using the same architects. Doesn't work too much. But there's specific people that they've hired, and that's what they're talking about with that.
okay.
Two completely different things. So this is federal.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's all right. No, because what he's saying is true, but only with the state program.
And there's so much to learn for everyone. And I've been on this board for a long time, and it's a good review for me.
And everything changes.
And it changes, the changes are tremendous.
And we're gonna have even more. It
That's right.
just, but we know where our bottom line is now budget-wise. We know that we're gonna be spending money on the federal program. The state program, we have work items that are part of our plan that you voted on earlier. That's one of them. So they're gonna they send us the information, scope of the work, the dollar amount. It doesn't always stay the same because there's usually something that comes up. But that's your base,
That's your budget.
that's your base of, and that's what he's saying. We don't know, I mean, if the costs go up, we're gonna be paying for more for asphalt. We could be paying more for labor. If they have a big sinkhole over there, then we might have to pay more for gravel to fill the sinkhole in order to put the asphalt down.
It's the same as if you with your own home.
With your own home, you
But
can,
it's cost twice what you estimate.
right, you have a budget, and that's where you wanna be, but very rarely does it stay
Right.
within the budget. Okay?
And that's why this is at zero for 24.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes more sense.
I've been at this a while.
And she sure
That's
has.
what- It's just,
You're very good at it.
all right, so now you need to vote on this plan.
So,
And this always is subject to change.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what I mean? If we find that this isn't working out for us, then it'll come to a board vote again. And we can always review all of it. Okay?
so we need a motion to approve the federal 5-year plan.
Yep.
So moved.
In seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay, we did 6.
Six. So 7 is discussion to vote and approve the work order scope of services for project 17074, which is asphalt repair and replacement at Auburn Heights. So any discussion?
So Auburn Heights is the 8 units of congregate housing. It's on Maple Drive. And that's the separate building. They need their driveways back. So that's what we're spending the money on.
This one here.
But the state hires the architect, the state
It pretty much runs the whole thing.
runs the whole thing. But the board has to vote to approve it because the state can't spend the money.
Right.
The only one that can spend the money is the
It has the
board.
funds for us.
Yep. So they present these things, and that way if there's a problem with that, I'll be coming back to you because there'll be a change order. But they cannot spend the money without the board's permission.
Well, that found was pretty interesting,
Oh, yeah.
but,
A lot of information.
yeah.
But they do need a new driveway. So
Yeah, it's bad.
And over there-
The other day.
over there, we've replaced the roofs, we've replaced the windows. We need to replace the driveway. And then, this is the place that doesn't have like a big budget. So we try to get as much stuff done under the capital piece as opposed to our operating budget because there isn't a lot of operating budget. So we try to get as much stuff done in the capital side of it. But the only problem with that is they tend to control everything. But the only thing they can't control is whether they're gonna get paid. That's up to the board.
I have a couple of questions on this.
Sure.
On page 4, on number C, it says, providing several additional parking spaces, the quantity shall be less than requiring site plan approval from the city of Worcester. What's Worcester have to do with Auburn?
I have no
That's
idea.
probably a typo.
That's what I'm thinking, I just wanted to make you aware of
Yeah,
it.
I missed that.
And I can send that to them, but you're still gonna need to vote. I mean, that's just,
Yeah. Okay, so you want a motion before we discuss it then?
no, yeah, well,
Okay. And then number F, for future electric vehicle charging stations along the parking perimeter, providing PVC conduits with pull wires under new pavements, provide electric pull boxes flush with the finished grade at the terminal of conduit runs and at other appropriate locations, coordinate the conduit layout with the housing authority. Why do we have to put in for electric now when there's not enough electric power for the people that have the electric cars now? And I think we should question that.
It's I mean, there's
That's a big thing.
there's one at the town hall now. I think you're gonna see more and more
Yes, but
electrical
I think that's,
ports.
right now, it's a waste of money as far as I'm concerned. Is for the housing authority to have this.
what the state's
But
paying.
the state's paying, yeah. And
They
the
are going to
state,
pay for it?
and the state is, I think,
State.
requiring that
Okay,
there be more.
if the state's going to pay
You know.
for it, I'm all in favor of it.
Good point.
That's right.
The free balloon.
Yeah.
I actually had one thing I circled. This says prepare the submittal with 100% CDs. So is CD construction detail? I couldn't figure out what a CD was.
Maybe if people have some CDs.
You know, cash them into paper.
Is music? I mean, and it's used a lot, like 100%
Yes, it
CD.
is.
And I figured it had to be construction detail. I could not,
That's a good question.
Well, I kind of thought it was that too, Steve, so I don't know.
but I think something like that. But anyway. Anybody want to make a motion to
Make a motion to.
second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's definitely needed over there. It really is. It is.
Okay, so number 8 is the discussion to vote and approve the response to the open meeting law complaints, which we received from Mr. Higgins. And I think, for the purpose of transparency, we should read the complaint.
Yeah, the answer.
The Auburn Housing Authority violated the open meeting laws as follows. Roberta Briggs Chair did not announce that the meeting was being recorded as required by Section 20F of the open meeting law. The two items on the posted agenda, they had 2 items on the posted agenda, and after these 2 items were finished, they spent the rest of 1 hour and 10 minutes deliberating and discussing things that were not posted on the agenda. And the suggested remedy was that the new chairman, himself, must announce that the meeting is being recorded by anyone in attendance in all meetings where anyone is recording the meeting as required by Section 20F of the Open Meeting Law. So, I wasn't going to read this whole thing, but to the points raised, what I wrote was, there was nobody from the public meeting, so there was nobody to ask if they were recording. The only people in attendance were staff, board members, and Auburn Community TV. Number two, a board may discuss anything that suits their fancy. They may not vote on anything not on the agenda. Technically, adjournment was not on the agenda, so we could claim that ending the meeting was a violation. And of course, that makes no sense. The agenda is not a straitjacket to limit the exchange of ideas and information in the development of future agenda items. And number three, to its correction, everybody on the board has had open meeting or training. So, I guess the question is,
Yeah,
correct?
Yes.
yeah,
So,
that's okay.
it's what's on TV.
You did a good job.
So, I guess you want to make discussion, or, but I
I would like you to read the whole thing.
I need a trick. Read the whole thing. All right. If I may offer a personal remark, it is great that you want to be an activist for good government. You should set your sights higher. You seem to have conflated the spirit of the law with the letter of the law. Legal complaints are a form of heckling the performance of others over minor, innocent, non-impactful details. It does not protect or favor substantive discussion or justice. I see on the state website that you have filed multiple open meeting law violations with various boards. The website proclaims biggest open meeting law enforcer in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Filing claims does not make you an enforcer. Citizens equally have a responsibility to not be the boy who cried wolf. Rights always come with responsibilities attached. False alarms, like yelling fire in a crowded theater, is not a right. We do have a duty to yell fire when there is a fire, and we have a duty to not yell fire when there isn't one. Discernment is required. While you are not in technical violation of the law as far as I know, I am not a lawyer, by filing multiple complaints, you're most definitely in violation of the spirit of the law, in my opinion. Rather than protecting the rights of wronged individuals or the general public, you're using your rights as an individual to wrong groups of people and hinder general public progress. The legislature and the administration can block or tolerate your activity if it so chose, but it would be far better if you were to discern right from wrong more clearly and set a better example. The more virtuous the people, the less laws are necessary. There are, unfortunately, a large number of issues that need the attention of passionate citizens in this country. Citizens offering correction to other citizens is how we mutually raise ourselves up. Please accept my critique and medicine with the same grace that you offer yours to others. Everyone needs to break bad habits and keep growing. The law is like a rail at the edge of a cliff. We are all free to press against it, but when it gives away, we tumble into the abyss. The law is both fragile and precious. Please treat the law with the respect it deserves. Our duty is to the spirit.
Thank you very much.
That's your
I appreciate that. Since the complaint was against me.
And it was actually me.
It was you.
It was me. They blamed you, it was me.
Because you started the meeting.
Because I started the meeting.
Thank you.
So I guess we just need to vote.
Yep, so that we can send that off.
Send that to
Yeah.
the
Because I'm involved, I'm going to abstain. Is that right? Can I vote on
You could vote.
it? I can vote.
Sure. But first we need a motion to approve the letter.
I make a motion to approve. Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. For the next one, I'm sure everybody was confused by. So, and it's sort of related to the previous item. Why would I suggest we change the opening pledge from the Pledge of Allegiance to the Declaration of Independence? And there's a million reasons, but ultimately, it comes down to we have procedurally, I mean, this, would you like to know some of the history of the Pledge of Allegiance? Because some of it's very ironic. So the Pledge of Allegiance was written by Francis Bellamy, who was a socialist. So socialism, and it was written for the 400th anniversary of Columbus. That was 1892. And of course, you know, coming after the Civil War and all of the other stuff, it was, the nation was very intent on bringing people together, healing a lot of wounds. So socialism in 1892 was not the Bolsheviks. Socialism was a better society, much like the Constitution, we the people, more perfect union, the whole nine yards. So he was a cousin of Edward Bellamy, who wrote a book, was from Massachusetts, called Looking Backwards. And so it's a story about a guy who falls asleep for 100 years, and he wakes up in the year 2000, which at this point is ancient history, and he describes his ideal society. So it's very utopian-minded. The Declaration, most people don't seem to recognize this, is very utopian-minded. You know, overthrowing thousands of years of monarchy is pretty utopian-minded. These were not, they were not wallflowers when you wanted to end thousands of years of monarchy. The Declaration, unlike the pledge of the Declaration, is to each other, not to the system. And if you look at the conflicts that we have today, the conflicts, this is crazy.
It's okay, Steve. Take your time.
As you well know, the conflicts are between people. The pledge should be to people, from one person to the next. And that's why I suggested this. And the irony, of course, is, in the 50s, they put under God into it because of the Bolsheviks and what they did to socialism. That socialism just means a social contract. When Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations, the wealth was the social contract. It wasn't about having houses because the Indians were living in teepees. It's the social contract that makes the nation. The Pledge of Allegiance, when it was written, that was the message. But we don't have that message anymore, as you saw 2 days ago in Congress. So this obviously was thought of before that, but the optics certainly fit.
I understand what you're saying, but I spent 27 years in the Air Force, and they never changed. The military still use that, and schools use it. They got,
Right, I
why
understand.
would they change?
It's a crazy seed to plant. I
No, it
understand
is.
that. I really, it makes no difference whether we change it or not. I've got no personal
I understand what you're saying.
thing in this. But we can combine them, you can make a new one, it makes really no difference how we proceed. But I told myself if I became chair, I was going to bring this up. However, I never imagined it would be at my second meeting. However, I had to keep it because, so that's why it's here.
Could we do both?
We can certainly do both. But that's up to the
To be
board.
honest with you, I followed your reasoning on why. the Pledge of Allegiance, as we know it, is something
Yeah,
in our heart.
I don't dislike the Pledge of Allegiance, which I'm sure people will say this, that that's the purpose of this, because, you know,
I understand it.
but it's got nothing to do with that. It's-
The pledge is in our heart. That's what we grew up as
Right.
children
Right.
and still do. And
Every
that's,
time we do it, I go back to grammar school, so, I just,
and I'm just happy that we're still doing it, that it hasn't come to the point where we can no longer say the Pledge of Allegiance. I like the idea of this, not to replace the pledge, but to bring this forward as, let's look at historically, what was that about? And going forward, maybe we need to pledge allegiance to each other going forward. It's important. I mean, with everything blowing up around us, the government having their own issues. I think our little body here can be smarter than the rest. And look at, yes, we're going to pledge to what we've always pledged to, but why can't we be aware of this
Absolutely.
and move this forward? And if it gets people talking about it, even better.
You mean, so say the pledge, the way we normally do, and then at the end, say
Say,
the
yes,
declaration.
With that-
of trust.
with that-
that's fine with me.
I
The
would
only-
also like to comment on this, if I might.
Sure.
I was really surprised when I first saw this because my husband was in the military. Both of my sons were in the military. And I think that flag represents everybody in this country. It's not divided. We're supposed to be one together under God. And you just put it into different words, which I think we could have both of them.
Absolutely.
But I think the Pledge of Allegiance should be first, because this is the United States of America.
I don't have any problem with doing both. I might say, even though the sentence was written, and for the support of this declaration, I'm not sure we need to say that, because we're not pledging in support of the declaration. You know what I mean?
no, we
Like,
can change this
but I
around.
would, but we could finish,
How would you like that to read?
If you just got rid of this first part, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
All right, so which part of this is?
Just that first, and for the support of this declaration, because that's not what we're pledging.
we're not signing
No.
anything,
Yeah.
so we
All
don't need
right,
to
so
pledge
what
to
we
the
need to
document.
say is,
We, at the end of the declaration as we know it, we would just put with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Right.
no, I have a little problem with that, because people don't know what this is all about. Okay? Because you gave us a wonderful explanation. I think if we're going to do it, we should do it the way you wrote it. In support for this declaration with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Because it
Just spell
I would
out
be-
Declaration of Independence, not just Declaration.
what?
Spell it out, Declaration of Independence, not just the word declaration.
Yes.
But we are independent.
Yeah.
Like, this was I mean, you could look at the Declaration. The Declaration is a wonderful document.
Yes,
It has some contradictions in it.
Yes,
And-
it does.
And we call it the Declaration of Independence. In
Yeah.
England, they called it a Declaration of Treason.
Yeah.
And if they got caught, they were all going to get hung. So,
Yeah.
because we were reenacting the
That's right.
English civil wars with Cromwell. But because we were on the other side of the ocean, they
Yeah.
didn't have a restoration of the monarchy. We are history. Like, we're not gonna ever escape from our history.
No, we're not.
But we do need to understand it, because
That's
we can't
right.
change the past, but we
That's
can
right.
change our understanding.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of why I wanted to have this in here, because the wording is what the soldiers do.
Yep,
And our rights and freedoms are not to be rich,
right.
but to actually to sacrifice our fortunes to greater ideals.
Yep.
And so the problem with the problem, because of where we're lifting the document, is that it references the document. But we don't really need the document, we need the ideals behind the document to overthrow monarchy, to create a civil society where the people choose and not traditionalists or royalty. And so that's why I would certainly take out those first 5 words and
The
begin
first
with,
5 words I can see.
and begin with the firm reliance.
Yes,
That's what I,
that I can agree with that. With a firm reliance. So we say the Pledge of Allegiance first, and then the Declaration Pledge would be with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our secret honor. You agree with that?
Yeah.
So we need a motion.
Motion to approve it.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion to vote and approve the check registers for August and September.
Your motion?
You have a motion to discuss? Or I guess we don't need a motion to discuss. Is there any discussion?
I think we should do each one separately.
Yep, that's fine. So for August, let me see, I don't know if I can find it. Oh, I do have it. Not the auction bills.
yep.
These are all capital replacements, I'm sure. Have you ever looked at, because carpets are expensive and people can make a mess of them and it costs a lot of money. What about, have you ever looked at replacing them with the vinyl flooring? Is that,
Well, we have linoleum. I don't know, see, the deal with North Oxford Mills is they go to auction, buy rolls of carpet at auction prices. They store the carpet at their building, so we're not storing carpet. Then they come out and install it. So we have one cost for like the roll of carpet, and then we have cost of installation. We don't have to worry about the storage piece of it because they're storing it for
I'm
us.
not trying to take their business away. I mean, they can,
No,
they can
that's
install the
But I
vinyl
don't
flooring
know.
just as easily. I guess.
But then they're gonna be cold. And then the residents are gonna be complaining that anybody with neuropathy
Oh, yeah.
stepping out on a cold floor, which vinyl will be cold because these buildings are on a slab, number one. So the first floor is gonna be cold. And the second floor, I don't know, I mean, we could slide. It's slide.
Yeah, there's.
Well, I mean, there's
there's
pluses and minuses. I did some remodeling and the building inspector sort of casually mentioned how it was better not to have carpet because carpets collect a lot of stuff. And, you know, I've got some carpets in my house that are probably long overdue for a replacement, right? And so you can't clean a carpet, but the bottom line is it's really hard to clean a carpet. Whereas the people that are living there will have no trouble with a Swiffer to clean a version of a hardwood floor, you know, in a vinyl floor. So, you know, both from a health thing and a cost thing and people not getting stuck with big bills because, you know, their grandchild knocked over, you know, the grape juice. Like you might, it's just an idea. I don't really have an,
It's something we
I
could
just
look
thought
at.
it-
I
I
don't know what
just
the
thought it'd
cost
slow
of it
it.
would be, but,
you know.
I mean, going forward, if we're rehabbing a unit for turnover, then that's something we could consider going forward. In the federal side, that could be a project that we could take on. But I'm not gonna be buying scatterers.
No,
But a lot of them will put like a 5x7, so that when they walk on it, at least they're not gonna slip, which I think that's cool, that's good, because you can watch them,
Right.
you know, so I understand that, I'd rather have that, but I'd have a big rug over it.
But I mean, this would be the kind of thing, it would have to be done at turnover because
Right.
Right, you're not gonna go in and do
their
it.
furniture,
No.
no.
You would only do it at turnover. But if you're doing the rug, you've obviously opened the room up to do the rug. So that's kind of why this sort of.
I mean, that's
you know, this
definitely
is not
something we
short
could
money.
look at. Yep.
So, this
How
is,
much carpeting do we have on hold now?
Not much. We've been using this because we've been turning it.
That's good. I just wanted to make sure we were gonna have a whole bunch of carpeting.
I like that idea, because I like to clean. It's like, what do you do with the rug?
then you're gonna buy a vacuum cleaner and then, you know,
Oh, I know.
things drive me crazy.
And I just hope they don't cut the vinyl. Like if they drop a knife or if they drop, you know what I mean? If for some reason they're cutting the vinyl, then they're gonna be responsible for the cost of replacing the vinyl.
I don't think so.
I have a little concern with people, if they're washing the dishes or something, you know, getting water on the floor and falling.
That's what I
But
said.
you get that everywhere.
But you can always put it with.
Do you have carpet in the kitchens?
No.
A lot of them
So it's
do.
wouldn't be
So-
any
I
different.
don't have it.
On the drawing, the bottom.
Or the bathroom.
That's good. I wouldn't want it there either. It's easily cleanable with the tile.
Well, it's something we can look at going forward.
And you can get the tile now that, you know, that looks like wood.
Right, it doesn't much. more.
As long as
Well, I
it's
don't-
cost effective.
Right,
Yes.
right. I don't know if it is or not, I just let it float.
It's worth looking into.
Well, when we had the flood and those apartments that were covered, they turned around and they put like a hardwood looking floor
I have it in my kitchen.
in. So we do have 3 apartments that have that. So I could see, we didn't pay for the cost because that was all part of it. But we can look.
And then, and that's another point, like all of these leaking from the heat pumps, like, you know, it's bad enough to hit the wall. So now you don't have, you know, but at least you don't have to replace the floor,
Which is true.
or if you do,
The
it's.
whole idea though is to get those so that they work
Right.
and they don't leak. Okay, that's something we can definitely look into. You have anyone?
So there's a lot of stuff here for bells, and just, I don't know what it is, but I guess that's a lot of landscaping or something.
Well, we had to put a drain in because we had, with all the rain, we had an issue out here with flooding. And one of the apartments actually had water coming in, so they came in and they put a drainage system in to divert the water. So that was,
So that's all,
Yeah.
it's different
and then the
projects.
sidewalk out here. I mean, we had different landscaping issues that they took care
Does
of.
that come under capital, or is that just operating?
Some of it was capital and some of it was operating because it came under the operations piece of the capital fund for,
I think you can't tell from it, but I
Right.
was just curious.
yeah.
If it was the, you know, that's all I have on, this was.
Awesome.
Next week, vote.
A motion to approve it.
Second.
My second.
All in favor?
I,
So, which side, which we gonna sign these, which
now
one?
we gotta do September.
September.
Oh, right, do September
Do
first.
August.
Okay. So August,
But now you're gonna vote into September.
Yeah. Any motion?
pardon me. Okay. So we want to discuss September, the approved August, correct?
Yes. And I'll make a motion to approve September so we can discuss it.
And I second one.
Okay, so for discussion. Okay. And for architecture for 2,000. But
That's one of the state project architects.
place voters for 6,400.
That's the standard.
That's the standard.
And then we also.
And that's going on the old truck. So that's for this winter.
Yep, that's for this one.
And group insurance, that's a discussion some other day.
But we can prorate that amount, and the federal side can be picked up under operations. Because if you look at the money.
Mhm. Okay. I don't have other questions. Anybody else? So we need a motion to approve.
I made the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
So September and August are accepted. And so you need us to sign this.
There's all these pages you can sign too, because they're all different accounts.
We do this at every meeting.
So I'm going to go back to my previous illegible signature.
I should put stickers. In my spare time, I'll put stickers on.
You mean on the
That's right.
signature page? Yeah. So we don't miss one.
Put that for people at home watching the sun days. It's not exciting to you.
It's still a business report.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not our job to entertain.
Even though sometimes we do.
Oh, we can do that to politicians too. You just stroke, change pens.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
say,
Yeah.
45 minutes later, his signature is going to be.
Yeah. I don't like being must-see TV. Just saying. Not a fan. So you want to keep going?
Let's see. Oh, the weekly time sheet.
That's a good idea. Get the stickers. Do I have the state paperwork?
Ah.
Oh, okay.
Don't get lost.
Oh, yeah, no, because that'll take longer passing it back and forth.
So many things to sign this. All right, so the next item is discussion and vote to approve check registers. No, that's what we did. Discussion and vote to appoint board member to approve the executive director's weekly timesheet.
Why are we doing this?
Well, if you look in the contract,
It says
it says
somebody's
that
supposed to do that.
that somebody's supposed to do it, but we've always had someone do it. It was either Wayne Page, it was Roberta, it's been Sharon, it's whoever comes in. But if I do the month, like I have the month of September here, okay, and I turn it around and I put the hours, because I'm salaried, I'm a salaried employee, so that means if I get called in the middle of the night, I come in the middle of the night. So I put the hours that they want somebody to work, whatever, and then from the payroll sheet, I put a copy of what hours I actually got paid, and if I took a sick day, it shows on the little white slip, so that my sheet will coincide with the green sheet. So you just need, I mean, I
You
can,
need a board member to sign them.
I need a board member to sign them. And it's, Sharon's been signing them since she's been on the board, because she's the treasurer of the board. So when she comes in to sign the checks, I usually give her a clump of these to sign them.
So you're volunteering to continue in this duty?
Fine with me.
And this way, now I've updated my process, because now you can look right here to compare, and it'll be easier for the auditor, because my timesheets are audited. Yep. Yeah, every year. Yep. And they compare what I got paid to what I'm declaring on my sheet. So this way, you can just look right over here and say, she called in sick on, well, she just didn't come in on Friday, she was sick. And it says right here, sick memo, 7.5 hours,
That's good.
okay? So it's more transparent, and we can do it monthly, but I have a weekly sheet. Sharon can sign them weekly, because she usually comes in at least once a week. Sometimes Rosie comes in because she's the assistant, but you can decide.
If I'm not here, let's do it.
Technically, you just need anybody to sign
A
it.
board-
You need a board member to sign it.
And you need to decide who you want it to be, or you don't care who it is, as long as it's a board member. And they have this to go by, so they know what I actually got paid. And they're gonna compare that with this. What do you think?
That's good. So just any, you can do it.
It should, I would think any board
I
member
would think any board member too.
should do it, or could do it.
I would think it would be easy to delegate it to somebody. I wish Wendy could see it, because if she wanted to do it, then she
Yeah,
would.
that's-
But anyway, since she's not here, I guess, if she wants to, if she wants the job, she can bring it back up as a meeting item. But right now, if Sharon wants to continue doing that, and she's already here, that sounds good to me.
And anybody can review these.
I motion that Sharon do sign it.
And these all have to be honest, anybody that wants to review them can certainly review them.
And I'd like to add to that, if she's not here and she's not able to sign it, that any board member can sign it.
Okay, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 12, Executive Director's Report.
Well, as far as the vacancies go, we have two at PV. we have identified people to already fill them.
Yeah, I guess it is.
And then, I'm sorry, going from that, we're in the process of power washing the buildings. We started at Stoneville, Stoneville's been completed. We have a lot of mildew on buildings. So,
That's,
yep, it was a very wet summer. And so we're cleaning them so that we don't have any issues
That is good.
anybody with breathing problems. And we have been just plugging along. We have multiple people that owe us rent, and we're initiating proceedings to go after them for the, like, we're in the process
Good.
of going after them for the rent, because as Gary spoke to us, it does impact us. And if they can't pay us, they can't live here. We're not a shelter.
No.
So we have some tenants that can't get along with each other, and we're dealing with that.
Through the court.
It's through the court, through whomever, it just, a lot of it's just ridiculous, but it is what we're dealing with. And bullying is, the new term for bullying is called social aggression.
Is that good?
Well, bullying kind of implies like what happens with children.
Yes.
Social aggression, when you're dealing with adults bullying each other,
That's right.
kind of gives it a different term, but bullying is bullying.
Well, I was just going to say the same thing.
And we do have it going on in our elderly disabled departments. Both, one more than the other, but it is going on. We are dealing with it as best we
So,
can.
how, maybe, is there a way to, I don't know, have, I'm trying to think of what, like, would a college that had, like a resident advisor would have this same problem, right, in a dorm room, go back to building, right, kids don't get along. And they would probably do some sort of activities with the students to, much harder because we're all adults.
Big difference.
To, and, you know, but I'm wondering if there isn't something or some way we could find how we're coping with this issue, because it's not a new issue, obviously. And it is basically, you know,
It's a small number of people that are involved.
yeah.
There's mental health issues involved in it, and it's a legal issue because
So we don't have, though, we don't have what's the word, a citizens board, and we don't have a,
and you wouldn't do that through the mental.
No, we're not,
well, no, but they could be handling themselves if they existed.
No.
we can't do that.
I mean, we have the senior
It's
center.
to the point now that the police are being.
The senior center is helpful. They have an outreach coordinator. There's protective services, elder services. There are resources that we've referred people to. It's a lease violation, so it's a legal issue. So our involvement is going to be, you better be careful.
But it's not ever going to send somebody a card when they're sick. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like we're dealing with human emotions, and we have, I assume we have the authority to do what you're doing. So if we have the authority to do that, we logically have the authority to facilitate better communications, even though it's not direct one-on-one. People can come, people can come. You know, because they have community rooms and things.
We are the landlord.
Right.
We have community rooms. We could ask different agencies to come in and speak. Now that
Right.
the community rooms are open,
Yeah.
we can do that, but it's going to be on a volunteer basis, whether they come or
Oh,
not.
yeah.
But I have a contact at the Jewish Health, they gave a workshop on it, maybe I could ask them if they would send somebody out to speak on it. I don't know that it would necessarily change the behavior, but we can certainly try to address it in whatever way we can.
We have to be very careful with this because we have individual rights. And it's no more than, my next door neighbor. I don't know what's going on with my next door neighbor because it's not my business.
Right.
So we have to be very careful to protect that. But it's what?
No, it's more about,
It's
it's
not
more like
windy.
putting the water out and hoping the horse drinks it kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, you can't force the horse to drink.
Right.
That's a given, right? But you can create a situation where things grow better. And, that's, and
And we
your job shouldn't be a social worker.
I'm not a social worker.
But
That's
it
not-
does come with the territory because
Well, there's
a lot of it
agencies,
you're doing.
there's
Right.
agencies that are
that are,
equipped to deal with this.
nobody's really equipped to deal with this.
And the attorney advises you what to do.
You got to look at the age, they're not gonna change.
And we are subject to what the attorneys advise us to do
Yes,
as far as how far like, we get involved. Because it's like, well, she's picking on me, and I saw her at the bench talking to somebody else, and I don't like her. And it's like, you know what? I'll speak to whoever I want. And no resident,
Exactly.
and no resident is gonna complain about who I'm speaking to. That's ridiculous. Grow up. And there's a lot of that. Grow up. And we're not kindergarten,
That's exactly.
Try to kill the gossip, right?
And you're all-
It's a tough,
all-
it's a tough thing.
Not gonna happen.
we're gonna start having
But that's-
people come in anyway. The fire department, we're gonna ask them to come.
Awesome. Awesome.
We can reach out to other, like the assisted living places all have staff that deal with these kind of things. And they always offer to come to help with whatever we need. Because we're just starting to open back up, then now we can go forward and bring people back in. In the past, we always did. We always
Yes, we
bring
did.
people
Yes, we do.
come. But with COVID, everybody seems to forget that COVID did have an impact on what services were provided. Everybody wants to just forget that everything was shut down by the government. So it's like going forward, it's like, okay, but it takes time to get things back and running. And I'm not gonna contribute to the mental health issues that these people have. That's not what this is. This is independent living. It's not assisted living. And we're not social workers. We're not equipped to handle it, but that doesn't mean we can't get people in to have workshops on different
And we
issues.
take that people.
We have done it in the past, just like we had bus trips in the past.
We had also special gatherings for the residents.
We had parties, Christmas party. We always had things.
And on Memorial Day, we had special,
Kids used to come in to sing.
yeah.
Veterans Day, we've had luncheons for the veterans. We've always, in the past, tried to make this a good place to live. But as far as the bullying and dealing with people's mental health issues, it's a challenge. It really is. And we can only go so far with that because we're not mental health providers. We're not experts in diagnosing
Right.
what these residents' issues are. Are they not taking their medication? Are they an alcoholic? I mean, smoking is another thing. Well, if they know they're not supposed to smoke, they sign every year that they're not gonna smoke. Well, guess what?
They smoke.
They're smoking. So there's all these different things, like pets. Well, I don't like the dog across the hall. Well, they have a right to have the dog. So maybe you don't like it, but it is noise. Oh, the one up above me is stomping her feet, slamming the doors, playing with the windows. It's like, you know what? Negative attention is still attention. So even though they're coming out with the craziest stuff, they're still getting attention from us because of it. And we have to control how far that goes. and that's the reality. But my plan was to start bringing people in to speak to the residents. We have, the community rooms are open, but it is a lease violation, and if they continue, we'll be pushing to eviction.
And the only ones that go are the ones that have the complaint. The person that's doing the problem, you know that.
Right, oh, yeah.
With their
right.
age, no.
But we can certainly offer it.
Right.
But
I mean, generally, when people are making a mistake and it becomes an ingrained habit, you know, there's still something that happens that suddenly the light goes on. You know, you've heard the same thing 1,000 times, and then on the 1,001st time, oh, that's what they meant. And then, you know, welcome to the mirror. So, you know, the more we can do to help that along, obviously. I think, that's why I think the resident association, because even though they're all gonna, you know, they're gonna get together and be a bitch fest. At the same time, if people stand up and defend things that are going on, then they're talking to each other, and then they get progress. But if you don't, if they don't talk, you're not gonna have progress. The only time they talk is to fight, they're not gonna go forward, right? Either have enough sense to separate and get out of each other's way, or make amends. It's like, there's only two choices here. And for some reason, these people don't have enough sense to separate.
And they think that's an entitlement, and it isn't. It's a privilege to live here.
Right.
It's not a right, it's a privilege. And they need to understand that. And with all the changes in housing coming down the road, they really need to consider their behavior, because if they're facing eviction, it's not a good look for them.
No.
They'll have trouble finding other housing. We've got so much need in this country right now for housing. The games are gonna come to an end. You know, and, I mean, the mental health issues, I mean, you can focus on the family and just say, what's going on, but even with that, you're limited. But I certainly think we can bring groups in
Yeah.
to, I like that because I can serve food. I can serve refreshments. I'm a fan of the social gatherings,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, because that's I did get my certification renewed because it expired during COVID. But I have been known to serve chicken pot pie here. I mean, and if my residents are struggling to pay for food, then I can certainly, I've done it in the past. It's like, okay, we have a potluck supper here tonight. One of our good tenants is putting on a potluck supper here tonight. They bring their own food. The kitchen will be closed, but there is a refrigerator, there is a microwave. If they need to heat up anything. But they are starting to get the idea that they can get out, they can socialize with. We had one resident pass away out here, and two of the residents took it upon themselves to get donuts and coffee, and they had like a little, kind of like a wake for the person that passed
It's nice.
outside. So they're taking it upon themselves,
Yeah, which is good, and that's good.
and that's what we want.
Right.
It's a community, and we want people to get together. But it can't always be the office that's providing
No,
this.
I mean, one of the things from this, on the state side of the PMR, whatever it is, the review is, it's that it should be they're doing it naturally, right? A citizens committee, or a resident committee.
They can recommend that, but the bottom line is the residents have to run it.
Right,
Yes.
And
exactly.
not the director of the
No,
housing.
no, no, I'm not suggesting
And
that.
if you do a serious look at what goes on with those LTOs, it's like, yes, it's active for a short amount of time. Then all of a sudden, the people that are running it get sick of it, number one, because they're doing all the work, nobody else is doing anything, or they get sick, or end up having to leave here, so then there's this big,
And then there's a gap, right.
Void.
So this is the generic this is true of every organization on the planet.
We've never needed
Right.
one in the past.
But,
But something,
but it's also up to them
yes, it is.
to do it if they want to.
Right. But if we maybe use the bulletin boards and suggested
No.
how to
No.
form it,
No.
because there are guidelines on
There
the
are
state
guidelines,
stuff.
yeah, and they
So just if
certainly
you
ask
tell
the state
them-
for those guidelines.
Well, we can tell them that the stuff, this is how to do it, if you want to do it. But instead of hiding the information.
We're not hiding
No,
anything.
I know, but I mean, you know, people are shy, is the
No,
gender.
they're
Well, no,
not
because
shy.
there have been people that have actually
Well, I'm sure about
contacted,
complaining.
people have contacted the state about it, what the process is. So there are residents here that have reached out to find out what the process is.
So shouldn't we encourage that?
And they see how much work it is.
Hmm?
And then they see how much work it is
It's a lot.
to run it, and then they want no part of it. 'Cause
But
it's a
there
lot
have
of
been
work.
residents, I have been contacted by the state, there have been residents that have expressed interest in it. And you know what, I'm all for it, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna
No,
do
no,
that
no,
one,
we should
that's not my
definitely
job.
So I'm not saying we should
She
do it.
doesn't have time to do
And
it.
that's not my job, and even listening to the, oh, and this one did this, and this one did that, and I'm like, okay, well, the rents aren't going in, because I'm listening to the whining. And it's like, you know what, everybody has issues. Everybody has problems health-wise, going forward. But you still need to get along. And you need your neighbors.
Exactly.
You do. And you need your church or whoever, your family. If you don't have family, then you find people that can support you. But it's not your landlord per se.
No, I'm not,
Because then it involves the lease.
right.
Yeah, yeah, and then you're getting into big
HIPAA.
problems.
There's so many different things that go on, but I think our best bet is to bring people in and give them the opportunity to speak to somebody. I mean, the senior center is an excellent resource, especially for the people that live at Packagug. It's a little bit more difficult for the people here because most of them don't have transportation. But I think that's something we can reach out to the senior center if maybe Boucher could come and do like an outreach, just let people know that the senior center is available to them, that there is a bus they can take if they're new and they're not aware of these things. I mean, we can certainly reach out to Auburn Youth and Family Services. I mean, it's not just about the families, it's also about the elderly disabled too.
And the children.
That's right. That's part of the deal. So we do have services available, but maybe we need to make the services more accessible to our residents. I mean, I know there are people that use the food pantry, elderly, the disabled that use the food pantry. We had thought about doing a food pantry through here and then decided that that wasn't the way to go. But the more social events I can have, I can bring refreshments in, and that's a big thing. If you look at what it costs in the grocery store, I don't know what people are eating,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, it's a lot of money, and then the rent is a third of what they have coming in. But I mean, if you're paying for prescriptions,
Right, you know,
the money doesn't go
if
very
if
far.
it's not a lot, a third of it doesn't leave much.
Doesn't leave you much, but that's what is required to live here. And the electric, and everything is included other than the cable and their phone. You know, I mean, I have people here that don't have any cable because they can't afford to pay the bill. And we had,
Is there a reason why the authority can't negotiate a flat rate?
oh yeah, we had that.
Yeah.
We had that. And what was the rate? Was it 25?
It was 25.
$25 a month.
Yeah.
They paid for cable,
Yeah.
25. And then a resident complained and she refused. She wasn't gonna pay it, so the state had said to me, well, guess what? You can't have that. As long as everybody participates, you can have it. The minute one person doesn't,
It's gone.
they
Can
can.
it show up as a separate line item on the rent?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we buried it in the rent, they would have just thought it was.
No, because they know what their rents are.
Because of
It's
calculations,
just
we're
what's
not
happening.
working. But because of one resident messed it up for everybody else, there was nothing I could do. I mean, $25 a month was affordable.
Yeah.
It's up to over 100 now.
I have, I pay for internet, but I don't pay for TV. I have a digital antenna. So those are free, but then you'd have to run into the, you gotta get one
We had
antenna
that.
hooking up to the cables.
We had the cable for years, that bulk contract, it was great. But all it took was one. And see, that's why you gotta, everything sounds like a good idea, but there's always something.
Somebody doesn't want to cooperate.
Yep. Yeah. It ruined it for everybody else.
And you have to treat everyone the same.
Oh, and that's what, like the LTO, there's gonna be some people that are gonna do all the work and then they get tired of it. I mean, is it a good idea? Yeah, it is a good idea. But if you look at it realistically and you see what happened at other housing authorities, it's like, well, okay, well, maybe we can find another way for them to, have a voice. But I don't want, well, they're not doing this, and they're not doing that, and I'm sick of this, and this is what I
And
learned.
presumably, they don't need it to complain, because they
Complaining.
can complain directly.
Any complaints they have, they put in writing, and we, we would,
It's more just to sort of, help solve
if I
those
thought,
things from occurring.
if I thought for 1 minute that it would be working, I'd be the first one to say, oh, by the way, but I know there are residents, because the state told me that there were residents that requested, and I said, well, that's great. And they were like, I write my job description, and that's not it.
Yeah. I think that
For a while.
Don't have children and they don't have anybody visiting them. We are blessed to have the senior center right next door. And they'll go on to have stuff going on like till 7 o'clock at night sometimes. There's so much for them to do, but they don't have a mouth like me. Don't talk.
But even then, some feel that they're not welcome over
Yes,
there. And
yes.
you can't sit at this table, because this seat is safe.
And they know it over there.
Social
They know it
immersion
over there.
goes on over there too. and
No,
has
I know
for
that.
years. But do they have excellent services? Yes. They couldn't do any more than they are doing
No.
for the residents of this town.
And
That's the
we're
reality.
right next door. I mean, it's all, they go over in wheelchairs and just going,
But the residents here don't have that.
no, you're right. You're right.
There's 60 units of housing right here.
WRTH, why can't they join in and just bring them over? I don't know, I'm just asking.
I go up and volunteer my time
Yeah.
on a daily basis.
And you walk up there.
That's what
I
it
walk
does.
up there.
It does.
They have excellent services. Anything, I mean, you can learn how to play anything. Canasta and all these crazy card games, and it's
But a
like,
lot of them just want bitch and moan and complain and stay in and do nothing. When I get up in the morning, where am I going today? I'm going walking, I'm getting steps. Then I don't come back till like dinner time. And it's like, people don't want to get out. And they can go right next door. Oh my goodness.
but maybe that's something we can work on. I
And a way
mean,
to knock down the barriers.
in Auburn Youth and Family Services,
Yes.
they would do anything.
I used to work there.
We used to have and I don't know whether we can still do this or not, it depends on how busy you are in the office, in our office. Is that the newsletter we used to have?
Yes,
That
that was
went
out.
out, that was very helpful.
You're talking about the Flagtown flag?
No, our
Talking
newsletter.
about the one that we had,
Yes.
We paid,
Yes, you
we
did.
paid.
Oh,
some
our
money.
newsletter.
Yeah,
People miss
yeah,
it.
our newsletter. It's just a thought, it's just a thought, but I don't know whether.
See, that was Denise. When Denise Brotherton
yes.
worked here.
Yes.
Yes, Brotherton, yeah.
Denise Brotherton, she did the newsletter.
Okay.
And she was more of like a social,
Yes.
a social coordinator when she worked here.
Yeah, she was.
Is it kosher for you to just ask for a volunteer to write a newsletter?
You volunteer?
I'm not, no.
I second it.
No, I'm not the tenant.
A tenant?
A tenant, yes. That would be great.
I don't know how many we have that are technologically,
Strong enough.
yeah.
See, our median age is like 85.
Yes. Oh, really?
That might-
Yeah. I mean, we just had like 2 people in their 90s have birthdays in the community room.
They did.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In their 90s, so if you look around, we're dealing with an elderly population
Yeah.
that are limited, you know?
Yeah. And I'm in that group. When I'm in that
Do you know
group.
what she put in the flyer?
What?
Do you know what did she put into the flyer?
I could actually show you, I could actually show you.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was really good.
We look forward to it.
Joe,
I even look forward to it.
whether it's going to be, different services that they would have at the senior center,
And good information.
It did.
projects that were going on. But we had to pay someone to make up the newsletter.
And then you would just print it
And
in?
then we'd print it and, but actually, I think we paid them, they printed
Every
it.
resident got
The
it.
senior center has their
How would they get
newsletter
distributed?
that has all that.
Just in the mailbox?
Scott puts it on, prints it up the senior center. No,
Yeah, they have all
yeah.
that.
See, we get the flag town flyers.
This one was just.
This was
But-
just for the housing authority,
It was a different one,
Oh,
when I
yes.
first joined back in 2007.
just
But
for the
does the
residents.
senior center have a separate one every month?
Yes.
Yes.
Every month.
Senior center, yeah.
I wonder if we could get a hold of that, yeah,
Could we duplicate it?
yeah.
Yeah. But
I
it's
have it
one.
right in my apartment,
I can do graphics.
the monthly
Get a
one.
chance,
I do.
Bridget, when you get a chance,
Yeah,
bring it over,
I will.
we'll take a look
Well,
for
give
it.
me the content, I can read it out. That's actually,
You'll do the graphics, we'll do the content.
Okay,
That's great.
You
Yeah,
and
hi.
I- You and mine, but the newsletter came out every month. It was in color.
no,
Yes. It was adorable. Like the things that
I loved it.
were pulled were, it was very helpful.
birthdays,
Birthdays. We didn't put how old people were.
just put the first name.
Yes. But I mean, it was a great idea, but it's just like anything else. It involves work and
And
this
expense.
The graphics were a problem, although Betty can do some graphics, but Betty's working on,
More important thing.
the graphic, I'm gonna,
we can give you the
the
content.
graphics is easy, but I don't have any content. If you give me the graphics,
I can give you
if
the
you can give the content. I'll do the rest.
It's always been second.
Thank you.
But it keeps us, because I don't do it nearly as much as I used to. So I actually enjoy it. It keeps
there we
it
go.
And I can give
fresh.
you like what we had in the past. It was cute.
Yes,
It really was. Yes. I didn't know if it was helpful or not because nobody really said
I
anything.
even liked it.
People looked forward to see
I
it.
know Lydia, they did.
People still
This
like
is
newspapers.
just another one of my hats that
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm going to be wearing.
okay.
The content will be easy, and then we can give them an idea of what's coming,
Yes.
what
Yes.
work items, because we are going to be
Yeah.
having work items going on, and general information. We can put some senior center contact information, because a lot of them don't even get the Flag Town flyer.
The
They
senior
used to give
center
us-
has their own too.
Huh?
The senior center has their own newsletter
That's what
too.
I'm talking about.
Not the Flag Time Flower, not that one. It's a different one that they,
Well, who does the Flag Town flyer?
I don't think they.
I have one in my
the
apartment.
town, I think.
Oh,
I think that's from
but
the
the
town.
one they have, the senior center,
It's
John
just,
Road does that.
yeah.
Scott does it now, Rose.
No, I know that, I was
Yeah.
over there the other day.
Yeah.
But he still goes in 2 days a week, they grab me and they bring him over to him
Right.
and he's He's so happy working on a computer, Bob Rowe.
Yeah.
But he goes over there like 2 days a week.
Right.
Oh, Scott doesn't.
Yeah.
Scott is awesome.
Bob Rowe was a huge asset to that senior center.
Yes,
The work
yes.
that he did over the years, and so kind.
Oh, isn't he?
So
He was like that at the Hanover Theater, me and him with the concierge. Oh my God, we did everything. It was like he had so much knowledge and stuff. Yeah,
Always a smile on his face.
always. Everybody misses him there. They won't go over. But that's good.
So if we could get there,
Okay.
This is it.
Public comments.
Frank,
Mr. Public.
Yeah,
you want to say anything?
no, I'm all set.
Okay, I guess we need a motion to adjourn, so we can leave.
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.